Koreans.
I mean, kind of.
But every time we come to Korea, we feel the strange sense of alienation.
And it's probably because I grew up in California, which is over 9,000 kilometers away from here.
And I haven't lived in this country since I was 9 years old.
So it's pretty obvious. When we walk in the streets of Seoul,
We speak differently,
or not much at all,
we dress differently,
we even carry ourselves differently.
we might as well be tourists.
아니 전혀 한국 사람 아닌 거.
아, 진짜요? 왜요?
But when we sit down over that Korean meal,
We know that we're both undoubtedly Korean.
Food is an umbilical cord. It ties us to our motherland, no matter how far we stray.
But what about for one group of people who have grown so radically apart that now they might as well live in different universes, like North and South Korea?
When we bond over the taste of Korea, we're really talking about the South.
But what about the other Korea? What is North Korean food? And who are the people who eat it? It's April 27, 2018. All eyes are on two men, Kim Jong-un and Moon Jae-in, as they stand before one of the most militarized borders in the world.
It's a historic moment. The first time a North Korean leader has stepped inside South Korea, across a border that didn't even exist before 1945.
After World War II, the world's superpowers, the Soviet Union and the US, chose the Korean Peninsula as their new battleground.
With the stroke of a pen, the Korean people suddenly found themselves torn in half. Their identity, family, and nation divided by the newly drawn 38th parallel.
What followed was 3 years of bloody war. Millions of Koreans died. Among the first casualties of the Cold War.
The peninsula remains divided nearly 70 years later. So the simple act of shaking hands feels monumental. They even shared a meal. And what's on the menu? Pyongyang Naengmyeon.
Naengmyeon, or cold noodle soup, is something familiar to every Korean. The South has its own versions. We even have a K-pop song.
But Pyongyang Naengmyeon, straight from its birthplace, cooked by North Korean chefs, personally delivered by Secret Service agents? Now that was something else.
모른다고 말하면 안 되겠구나.
This unassuming northern dish continued to make an appearance during the Korea summits. President Moon Jae-in even tried it in the most famous restaurant in North Korea.
And everyone wanted a taste of history.
But what's so special about this naengmyeon that some even called it the new symbol of peace?
So we decided to ask a North Korean who's been eating it her whole life.
After you, my darling.
Thank you. They say chivalry is dead, but I see that it's well and alive. Until 3 years ago, Moon Yeon-hee was living in Pyongyang, the capital, where her family owned a popular restaurant.
They defected in 2016 after her father passed away. In Seoul, they decided to continue the family business.
북한에서 평양을 더군다나 넣고 봤을 때 제일 대표적인 음식이 평양 냉면이죠.
It's like, you know, she's like doing laundry.
Yeah.
만들 때 가장 어려운 게 뭐예요?
면이랑 육수요.
면이랑 육수요? 그러니까 다 힘든 거네.
이 냉면 한 그릇이면 굉장히 간단해 보이는데 이게 청 만드는 게 거의 15시간이 걸려요.
What goes in the broth?
돼지고기, 소고기, 닭고기, 육수를 끓이는데 8시간, 식히는데 또 5시간.
Right off the bat, we noticed how different Moon's naengmyeon is to the ones we've eaten before, which normally has a mix of beef and kimchi soup.
Her toppings are also more lavish. eggs cooked 2 ways, 3 types of pickles, pine nuts. This is not the humble Pyongyang naengmyeon we're used to.
저는 태어나서부터 먹은 게 이 냉면이에요. 평양에서 먹었으니까. 근데 한국에 와서 한국에서 하고 있는 평양냉면을 가서 먹었잖아요. 근데 맛이 아예 틀린 거예요. 아예 다른 냉면인 거예요. 이게 뭐지? 했어요. 이게 과연 평양냉면이야? 했었어요. 한국 사람들이 정상회담을 보면서 저 북한 냉면 면이 검네? 왜 검지? 모르는 거예요. 그래서 엄마가 북한에서 냉면집을 평양에서 하셨으니까 빨리 오픈을 해서 한국 분들한테도 지금 북한의 맛을 좀 보여야 되겠다 하는 마음이 있었어요.
This is so different.
식초를 넣어서 넣는 거예요? 김정일이가 그렇게 먹으라 그랬어요.
Where are your table manners?
In South Korea, Pyongyang naengmyeon is often described as bland, but this was anything but.
Why do you think that people in South Korea have such a different image of Pyongyang naengmyeon?
지금 한국에서 지금 평양냉면을 하고 있는 분들이 50년도 때 대부분 넘어오신 분들이거든요. 그때는 뭐 고기도 없었고 그때의 냉면 그대로 한국에서 그대로 하고 계십니다. 북한은 나름 냉면이 고향이잖아요, 평양은. 그러니까 평양냉면이 세대가 발전하고 10년, 20년 발전하면서 냉면도 계속 업그레이드 시킨 거예요, 맛을.
So you're saying that over the last, 67 years, Pyongyang naengmyeon has actually evolved.
평양냉면도 평양이 발전되는 것처럼 냉면도 같이 발전이 된 거죠.
The Pyongyang naengmyeon we've been eating all our lives was frozen in time, like our understanding of North Korea itself.
But so little information makes it across the tightly controlled border, except what the regime wants you to see.
So over there is North Korea. And if you think about it, it doesn't take that long to get here. I guess from Seoul it took like how long?
1 hour. Do you feel anything when you see that?
Honestly, I feel a little bit like indifferent. I can tell that I'm supposed to feel something, but I don't because it feels so curated.
I mean, I guess it wasn't at all part of your education growing up, Like for me, when I went to school here, it was every year we would draw reunification posters. I guess I feel like, this kind of sense of longing, but I don't know if that's just really how I feel or if that was just kind of ingrained in me since I was little.
Growing up, we didn't talk about North Korea at all in my family because it wasn't something that was really relevant to us. And also we were already dealing with the idea of being Korean abroad. And that was already like the most complex identity issue for us, I think.
Behind closed doors, Pyongyang has been evolving. Smartphones, department stores, swanky metro station. Sometimes it's hard to tell if we're looking at North or South Korea.
But that's life in the capital city, something most North Koreans don't get to experience. For Kim Jong-sun, hunger was a norm in rural North Korea. She defected in 2011 in search of her lost daughter and a better life.
북한에 있을 때는 잔디를 못 먹고는 다 먹어본 것 같아요. 배고프니까.
She taught us how to make tofu rice, a North Korean street food. It's just fried tofu stuffed with seasoned rice. Like many North Korean staples, it's simple and filling.
한국에 오니까 모든 음식이 다 생소하더라고요. 북한 음식하고 맛이 다르더라고요. 북한에 여기 오신 분들이 북한에 다 고향 두고 왔지, 부모 두고 자식 음식까지 다 두고 오지 않았어요. 근데 가만히 생각해 보니까 제일 센 게 입맛이라고 생각해요. 그때 우리 북한 그 음식 맛은 버리지 못하겠어요.
그러면은 이거 어떻게 먹는지 가르쳐 주세요.
네. 야, 이 양념을 여기 찍어서.
찍어서 이렇게?
예, 찍어서 요거 쫙, 이렇게 먹는 거예요.
그러면 남한 사람들은 북한에 있는 사정을 잘 알고 있다고 생각하세요?
전혀 몰라요. 이 한국 분들은 북한 사람들이 굶고 배고프다는 거 이해를 하기 힘들어 하더라고요. 예. 그래서 평양만 잘 산다 하고 이러니까 모르더라고요. 진짜 굶는가 이렇게 물어보더라. 우리가 여기를 왜 왔겠어? 배고프니까 왔지.
Kim lived through the Great Famine that devastated North Korea in the 90s. We'll never know for sure how many people starved to death, but estimates run as high as 3.5 million people.
People were desperate. Kim Jong-sun left her daughters to search for food. And when she came back, they were gone. She's still looking for her youngest daughter over 20 years later.
Has she heard any news of her daughter?
그 딸을 아직 못 찾았어요. 죽었는지 살았는지 생사를 아직 모르거든요. 저는 북한에 있을 때 살기 힘드니까 저희 딸인데 다 이 두부밥 하나도 못 싸줬어요.
그러셨어요?
네. 그러니까 우리 딸이 어디서 이 엄마를 보고 꼭 내 품에 찾아와서 이 엄마 가슴이 딸을 찾고픈 그 멍든 이 마음을 우리 딸이 꼭 풀어줬으면 좋겠어요.
Families ripped apart. The arduous march. War. For older Koreans, these scars might still be fresh.
But for the new generation of Koreans, this history feels like someone else's story.
I've never met a North Korean before, and actually, the idea of someone who is North Korean is already something that's so distant from me.
Yet reunification is something that we continue to talk about and even hope for.
I think reunification is something that I will always want in my dreams, because this is something that I was told repeatedly, that Koreans are one people, we've been separated. But I think with the way things are right now, with so many foreign powers that have their stake in this entire issue, I think it's almost impossible and quite unrealistic to think that reunification is something that's going to happen. But our image of the other Koreans is like a fading photograph. It was time to bring it up to date.
We decided to meet someone from the new generation of North Koreans.
밀가루가 귀해요, 북한은. 자, 막 명절 때나 그럴 때 많이 먹거든요. 만두 같은 건 이렇게 품이 많이 들잖아요. 손이 많이 가잖아요. 근데 또 식구들이 이렇게 모여 앉아서 빚는 재미가 있으니까.
Kim Yeon-young has had to fend for herself since she was 15 years old. To survive, she sold food like the dumplings we're making now in the local markets.
고기가 들어가야죠. 네. 김치 좋아하세요?
네, 저 김치 진짜 좋아해요.
역시 한국에는 피는.
그쵸, 한국엔 피는 못 속여요.
그러니까 피는 못 썩인다. 저는 진짜 북한에서 안 해본 일이 없어요. 고기.
But she doesn't want your pity. She's a hustler.
그때 당시는 힘들었지만 지금은 후회는 하지 않아요.
Even after defecting in 2015, she hasn't slowed down. She goes to university, has a part-time job, and volunteers on the weekend.
짠! 짠짠짠! This is North Korean dumpling. 발음이 구려. 민망해라.
Can you describe what your village looked like?
되게 시골이었어요. 엄청 시골이어서 그 저희 동네는 버스가 한 대밖에 없었어요. 나무 이렇게 떼가지고 그 열로 가는.
설마.
맞아.
She came here.
되게 한국에 와서 많이 들었던 생각은 내가 거기서 너무 속고 살았구나라는. 너무 이게 차별되잖아요. 비교되잖아요. 제가 살던 곳이랑 그 평양이라는 그게 그래서 그런 걸 보면 되게 좀 분노하죠. 억울하고 화가 나죠.
그럼 누구한테 화나는 거예요?
모르겠어요. 누구한테 하나인지. 그냥 그
화가 나요?
체제?
And of course, it's not easy when you realize that like the life that you lived had to be harder than it needed to be.
그렇다고 해서 딱히 북한보다 사는 게 더 행복하다? 남한에서 사는 게? 그런 거 모르겠어요. 그러니까 북한에서는 되게 사는 게 어려웠어요. 맨날 일하고 살아야 됐고. 근데 한국에 와서 그런 건 없는데 뭔가 이게 관계들이 애매하고 막 이렇게 집에서 이런 음식 하면 옆집에 막 몇 개 갖다 주고 그렇게 살았는데 여기 오니까 그런 게 하나도 없고 좀 사람은 다 어려운 시기가 있잖아요. 내가 뭐 북한에서 태어나고 한국에서 태어나고 그게 문제가 아니라 살다 보면은 다 어려움이 있는데 그거를 본인이 어떻게 극복해 나가느냐에 따라서 그 미래가 달라지는 거죠. 내가 어디서 태어나는지 중요하지 않아요. 지금 어디서 뭘 하고 있는가가 중요한 거지 내가 어디서 태어났고 어떻게 자라왔고는 중요하지 않은데 그런 거를 갖다가 조금 너무 편견을 가지고 바라보기 때문에 마음만 먹으면 내가 하고 싶으면 다 할 수 있다는 거를 보여주고 싶었어요.
그럼 잘 먹겠습니다.
네. 드셔보세요.
This mandu is so big.
Yours.
It's clearly mine. Look, this is like all broken inside.
어때요? 맛있어요?
너무 맛있어요. Anything with kimchi inside, you can't go wrong with. So inside there is kimchi, tubu, perilla leaves,
Pork, onions, and garlic, like lots of garlic.
lots of garlic.
She's mincing that garlic like crazy.
당연히 저는 빨리 통일이 되면 좋겠죠. 통일이 되는 것도 중요하지만 일단은 남한 사람들의 인식이 좀 바뀌어야 된다고 생각하거든요. 특히 진짜 저 같은 사람들한테는 좀 사명감을 가지고 해나가야 하는 일이라고 생각해요. 북한 하면 김정은 이렇게 생각하잖아요. 핵, 김정은, 도발 막 그런 것도 생각하니까 그런 것보다는 북한 주민들, 일반인 너는 여기서 이렇게 태어나서 이런 체제에서 살아왔기 때문에 이렇구나 이거를 이해를 해주고 서로가 통일을 갖다 주세요 라고 하면 갖다 주는 게 아니기 때문에 우리가 준비를 해나가야 된다고 생각해요.
Korea is a divided nation, and Koreans divided people. But the rift between us might be smaller than the bridge that connects us.
The cold noodle soup the two leaders shared was not only a reminder of our shared roots, but also of the changes we've each gone through during our time apart.
Changes that we shouldn't see as barriers, but an invitation to explore and to hopefully understand.
Thank you for watching our first episode in Korea. It was a very personal story for us.
So, we wanted to ask you guys a question. How has food and identity intersected in your lives? We'd love to hear your stories, so comment below or follow us on Facebook,
And Instagram.
especially if you want to join our conversations.
This is one of 3 episodes of Fork the System's first season. We can't wait for you to see the other 2.
So, stick around.
And get out there and eat some Korean food. Is that how you eat Korean food?